I say silver is the biggest bargain I have ever seen. And I'm still buying it, buying it, buying it because it's an industrial metal as well as a precious metal. All the gold is still left in the world, but silver is disappearing. Is that an adequate summary?
I completely agree with that.
So how come the price isn't going up then? Why does it stay flat? Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, broadcasting from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's either heaven or hell. And right now it's still heaven. And in a couple of months, it'll be hell. Anyway, I'm excited about this guest simply because, we've suffered long and hard together. And this is Peter Krauth.
That's right.
And he's the author of the book, The Great Silver Bull. Is that correct, Peter?
It is. That's correct.
And I've been a silver nut for I don't know how long because, this here is a 1964 Kennedy half dollar. And in 1964, I was 17 years old. And I picked up the half dollar and I looked at it and it had copper around it. And I said, what the heck are they doing? So this is the last of the pure silver American coins. It's the Kennedy half dollar. Today, this 50-cent piece is worth about $12. Okay, so what America did was we violated Gresham's law. And Gresham's law is a very important law in the world of money. And Gresham's law states when fake money enters a system, real money goes into hiding. So what happened in 64, I started saving these. I used to caddy. So I was growing up in Hawaii, and I'd go up to the golf course, and I'd caddy for one bag for 9 holes, 2 bags for $2, And if I got $4, I went 18 holes and all that stuff. And I'd go to the bank and I'd take my dollar, and then I would pull out the real silver coins. I'd change it for coins, and I saved a whole bag of silver coins when I was 17. Something inside me, nobody told me, there was nobody guiding me. I just knew there's something wrong when fake money, at Gresham's law states, fake money entered the system. And at that point, as you may know today, 2024, this is February 2024, America is now the biggest debtor nation in history. And it's only because of Gresham's law. We've been allowed to just print money, print money, print money. And the world is now filled with these fake US dollars. And what the danger today is that what we replace gold and silver with is a thing called a U.S. Treasury, a bond. And I don't touch those things. They're the phoniest things I've ever seen. Bonds are fake money, as far as I'm concerned. So Peter Krauth here is my hero because for years I'd be on Lear Capital, Peter, saying, buy silver, buy silver, buy silver. And silver, I think, was about $5 or $6 an ounce at that time. My friends keep telling me, well, when's it going to take off? When's it going to take off? Gold went up, S&P went up, that Magnificent Seven, which is Apple, Amazon, all took off. And what the hell is wrong with silver? So I'm very happy to hear my friend Peter Krauth here, the author of The Great Silver Bull, because he and I are both bulls on silver. I have tons of it. I opened a silver mine in Argentina. This is one of the Dore bars from it. And I have a gold mine in Utah. I am a hardcore gold and silver guy. And as you know, there's a lot of these people who are silver stackers. To them, I say, adios, mother. They stack little silver coins and little gold coins. I said, when you buy a gold mine, talk to me. When you buy a silver mine, talk to me. So I am committed to gold and silver. I've been hardcore ever since 1964. When I started, I saw this fake. I saw the U.S. Currency money go to fake money. So, Peter, welcome to the Rich Dad Radio Show.
Robert, it's a pleasure to be here.
So how did you join the insane and become a silver bull?
Well, I have been following it along with gold for more than 20 years and started writing about it about 15 years ago, researching and writing about it, investing it, of course, all of this time. And then about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, actually, I had been in the research and newsletter business and was out of it for about 2 years and really enjoyed it and said I need to get back into it. And so this would have been actually right near the beginning of COVID, so in the fall of 2020. And so I connected with a woman out of Vancouver. Her name is Gwen Preston. She writes the Resource Maven, and she has her own newsletters and covers the metals space in general. And decided that we would work together. She's got the infrastructure already set up, and I launched a silver newsletter right there. And so that would have been January of 2021. And within a couple of months, a good friend and former colleague, when I worked in the newsletter business, said to me, "Peter, you need to write a book on silver." And here was COVID. There was not a whole lot to do. A lot of us were spending a lot of time at home. And I said, why am I going to let a pandemic go to waste? It's time to write a book. And I had obviously lots of research I had accumulated over the years. And I said, it's now or never. So I spent about 6 months working on that very hard and said nothing to anyone because I wanted to make sure I was going to move far along enough in this project that it was going to come to fruition. And then when I got that far along, I said, okay, it's time to, I'm comfortable mentioning it to people. And thankfully, I got some, I'm very grateful. I got some help on the administrative side, on the same.
Peter, that's good. I'm a book writer also, I understand.
All right.
Everybody wants to know one thing, when the hell is silver going to take off? Because, everybody knows it's manipulated. They sell, who's it, JP Morgan and those guys that find
sure.
almost $1 billion. So my question is, I started buying silver when it was 10 cents.
Right.
And you can buy a silver eagle, US eagle, for about $35.
Right.
Meanwhile, gold is pushing 2,000. And the reason I like silver is because it's an industrial metal as well as a precious metal. And silver is used in solar and batteries and all this. So it's a lot more useful than gold. So Peter, everybody like me, silver is like the Rodney Dangerfield of the precious metal business. We get no respect. So every time I used to sell for Lair Capital saying buy silver. And now I'm living to eat my words because everybody's going, well, when's it going to take off? When's it going to take off? But Peter, why has the price of silver been so suppressed? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Why hasn't it taken off with solar and with batteries and EVs?
Well, I'm glad that you asked because, in fact, I've been looking into this very carefully in the last couple of months. And the conclusion I've come to is that there are what I call secondary supplies. So you've got supplies that come from mining. You've got supplies that come from recycling. And then you've got supplies sitting on the futures exchanges, and you've also got privately held silver. So I believe what's happening is that, and the reason I say this is because I've looked at the research and the charts. And if you look at the COMEX, the Shanghai, and the LBMA,
wait. Peter, be careful using jargon. What does COMEX mean?
You're right. So that's the New York Futures Exchange, where you can buy and sell contracts to trade silver with leverage if you want. Now, there's a little bit of silver on the exchange.
It's like the stock market for silver.
Exactly. Exactly. So you've got the equivalent in Shanghai and you've got the equivalent in London. And what we've seen is that over the last 3 years, all three of those have seen, now this is just their overall silver holdings, have come down by about 30 to 40% across the board. If you look at what they have called registered silver, now registered silver at those exchanges is what's available for delivery. So all of it's not available for delivery, but the registered silver is available for delivery. That's down about 70%.
Wait. So what you're saying, there's some silver that's in storage and there's some silver ready for sale.
Right.
You got to keep it simple for the rich dad audience here.
All right. Exactly. So for me, seeing that these inventories have come down so much over the last 3 years says to me that the big buyers, especially in big industrial users, like you mentioned before, for solar panels, they are buying these contracts and they're waiting for them to mature, and then they're taking delivery because they can't get enough from mining and from. I have to pay some fees and delivery and a few things going on around that. But they are entitled to take delivery. And so for me to see those inventories being drawn down, and I have all the charts for it, that says to me that you've got big players coming in and are taking delivery from those markets.
Who are the big players?
The big players are industrial users. And we're talking about large solar panel manufacturers. You probably also have large electronics manufacturers. I like to say we're never more than about a few feet or a yard away from silver. As you know, Robert, it's everywhere.
Right.
It's in your cell
Everywhere.
phone, your microphone, your tablet, your keyboard, your computer. It's all around you all the time. Most people
If I
don't
could,
realize.
yeah, if I could explain to the my rich dad crowd here, the better conductivity is actually gold. Gold would be better, except gold is too expensive. So that's why silver is a second industrial metal as well as a precious metal. And what Peter is saying here right now, the people are actually using it, are taking it to produce with it. Whereas gold sits above ground. They estimate all the gold ever produced still here. But silver is disappearing. Not only, every time you fire a Tomahawk missile, I think there's a pound and a half of silver in the nose cone. So silver is disappearing. And that's what Peter is saying. That's why he wrote the Great Silver Bull. And today, I think it's about $35 US an ounce today. I say silver is the biggest bargain I have ever seen. And I'm still buying it, because it's an industrial metal as well as a precious metal. All the gold is still left in the world, but silver is disappearing. Is that an adequate summary?
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So how come the price isn't going up then? Why does it stay flat?
So I believe that what I was saying earlier is the explanation for that, and that could go on for a little while longer. In other words,
Right.
right, the demand is being met from these secondary supplies. And so as long as that can go on, and I think that we may have a year, maybe a couple of years left of that at most, that's going to probably keep the silver price relatively level. Now, that doesn't mean, and we've seen it before, as much as I do, Robert, we've seen it before when there's this FOMO or fear of missing out. People will pile into silver, following gold usually, and it just absolutely explodes and goes crazy. Now, we've seen it a few times in the past. Silver does tend to kind of move sideways. And then when this huge fear of missing out comes in and they see gold, let's say 2,500, silver at $35 is going to look like one heck of a bargain next to
Yeah.
gold at 2,500. So that just drives so much investment demand, and the silver price
Right.
will spike.
Yeah, when the panic hits, you're going to wish you had bought more of it. But I've
Exactly.
been buying for so many years. Like I said, it was like a dollar something. And I still have it. I
Sure.
still have it. How much silver is, the solar is the ESG, like, anyway, the green you scam, they call it.
Right.
What is your forecast for solar as far as the consumption of silver?
Well, it's become huge. It's unbelievable. In the last few years, it's gone from about 100 million ounces. So that's about, say, 10% of all the silver made available every year between mining and recycling. About 10% has gone to solar. Last year, it was already at 19%. So it's more than doubled just in the last few years.
Is that
And
right?
it has absolutely doubled.
I get tongue tied because the reason I say that is I talk to poor people, people who don't invest, and they're in the stock market, which to me is gambling. But anyway, everybody out there can afford a $35 silver eagle or any. So like this today was 50 cents. Today it's $10. Everybody can afford it, but they'd rather save fake money, the US dollar or the Canadian loonie or the peso or the euro. But I'd rather have silver, and silver today is $35 a day. I mean, an ounce US, and I think is the biggest bargain of all. And I need to say this: we don't recommend anything. We just inform people. But I am a big silver bull, and that's Peter Krauth's book, The Great Silver Bull. We'll be right back to continue with Peter.
Have you heard about the expanding influence of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and its potential to severely impact the US dollar by possibly creating a new world currency? Even JP Morgan said, and I'm paraphrasing, the impact of BRICS would most likely be felt here in the US, where moving away from the dollar would cause our financial assets like our IRAs and 401ks to lose value. We agree with JP Morgan and many others. Now's the time to position yourself for stability, security, and wealth protection. So take it from Robert and me, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting, we believe that gold should be a part of everyone's portfolio. Seize the opportunity to ensure your financial future with gold and do it with one of the best in the industry, Allegiance Gold. Allegiance Gold has done things right from the beginning, having earned 5 stars with TrustLink and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Allegiance Gold can help protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver, or you can have it delivered securely to your doorstep. Get up to $5,000 in free silver on a qualifying investment when you visit protectwithrobert.com today. Or you can call 844-3-ROBERT. That's 844-3-ROBERT. Hi everyone, I'm Kim Kiyosaki, co-host of the Rich Dad Radio Show. Robert and I have warned that 2023 was going to be a roller coaster of volatility. After all, the stock market is largely flat this year except for a handful of tech companies. And other asset classes are struggling to meet expectations. One survey reveals that living paycheck to paycheck is the most common lifestyle in America, even for those making 6-figure incomes. Combined with hundreds of thousands of layoffs in just the last few months, it's clear a financial storm is brewing. The question to ask yourself is, are you safe? For years, Robert and I and other investors have been putting more and more money into assets that can still climb when the stock market flatlines. One investment that doesn't seem to be affected by the ups and downs of the stock market is art. In fact, one of our close friends and advisor recommends art as his #1 asset protection. Even more, contemporary art prices have outpaced the S&P 500's total return over the last 27 years by 136%. If you think art as an investment is something you want to pursue, then there is a vehicle that allows you to do that without investing millions, thanks to Masterworks, our longtime sponsor. Their platform lets you invest in shares of painting by icons like Picasso and Banksy. Masterworks now has $800 million in assets under management. But thanks to our friends at Masterworks, you can skip their waitlist. Just click the link in the description for this episode. Offerings have sold out in minutes, but Rich Dad listeners can skip the waitlist going to masterworks.art/richdad. That's masterworks.art/richdad. See important disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. Hi everyone, I'm Kim Kiyosaki. Thank you for being with us today. As CEO and co-founder of the Rich Dad Company, I can assure you Robert and I are both dedicated to our Rich Dad mission to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. And you are the humanity. We truly want you to succeed. When you succeed, we all succeed, and our mission grows stronger. With that in mind, I'm excited to extend a personal invitation to you to elevate your financial well-being by attending our exclusive free online wealth building event hosted by Robert. You'll learn what to focus on first to start increasing your cash flow immediately. You can reserve your seat right now by going to richdadonline.com. Just go to richdadonline.com. The event is 100% free and will help you achieve your financial goals.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Today we're interviewing Peter Krauth. He's a silver stock investor. He's the author of The Great Silver Bull. I need to say this, is we don't recommend people invest in anything. We're purely informational. But I will tell you what I invest in. And since I was a little boy, ever since I held up a U.S. coin, this 1964, and there was a copper tinger on it. And again, that was Gresham's law. That meant the government was messing with our money. It was now fake money in 64. And then 71, President Nixon took gold off of the dollar. It became all fake money. And then everybody went into what's called bonds, treasury bills and bonds. And today, the Chinese and Japanese are not buying our bonds because America is now the biggest debtor nation in the world. So we don't make recommendations. We educate people, make your own mind up. But I've been excited about interviewing Peter Krauth because I think silver is the biggest bargain on planet Earth. And I really have tons of it. This comes from my silver mine here. It was in Argentina, and we sold it to Yamana. And I've done very well by silver. So all you silver stackers out there, when you can buy a mine, you let me know. You can buy a gold mine, you let me know. But that's called commitment. You know what I mean? I am such a bull on gold and silver. One big reason, I don't trust my government. That's the main reason. We're a great country, but something is rotten in our financial markets. So Peter, what's going to happen with EVs? You know, I bought my first EV, and I call it the grand new scam, the green scam. But I love that car. I mean, I really do. It's a Cadillac, and it just goes flying past gas stations. And I own oil wells too, so I shouldn't be saying that. But what's the future of EVs with silver in that relationship?
Well, EVs are certainly a big consumer of silver as well. We talked about solar, but the growth of EVs is certainly pushing the demand for silver higher. And what we do know is that they need more than twice as much silver as a regular internal combustion engine vehicle. So the more EVs are produced and sold, the more silver that's going to take. It's just that simple. The math is that simple.
So, China is now going to be the biggest producer of EVs. And I produced a gold mine in Dalian, China. I took it public off of the Toronto Stock Exchange. And as soon as we struck gold, the Chinese took my gold mine. So I'm not a big fan of Chinese food, although I did have it last night. But anyway, where's China going to get their silver from? Do they have a lot of it or not?
So China is arguably number 2 or 3 world producer of silver, but they don't produce anywhere near as much as they themselves need. And you just have to look at the production numbers for silver and the demand. And especially, we talked a little bit earlier about solar. Well, China completely dominates the solar industry. They are 80% of the world's solar panel manufacturing capacity. And I don't know where China's going to get their silver. I mean, they're going to have to compete with everybody else for that. I was talking about getting silver off of the Shanghai Futures Exchange. I can bet that they're standing for delivery and taking delivery there. A lot of silver goes through that exchange. But as I say, they're going to have to compete with everybody else. I'm willing to bet most of the silver produced in China doesn't leave China, just like the gold.
Right. FYI for everybody, it's one of the things that I don't trust the financial markets, is you can actually sell something you don't have. In other words, I could have, let's say, a ton of silver, or I don't have to have it, but I can sell a ton of silver. I don't even have to own it. And I can suppress the price, manipulate the price, and all that. And that's what JP Morgan got caught doing. They were fined $900 million, nearly $1 billion. But now is the point where supply has to keep up with demand. And the demand for silver, in my opinion, I think Peter Krauth would agree with me on this, demand for silver is going to outpace gold because it's consumed, it's disappearing. Would you agree or not agree with that?
I would absolutely agree. I mean, we've seen the demand numbers rise dramatically for silver in the last, say, 3 to 4 years. Global demand is really growing very quickly, and the projections are for that to continue as well. Now, and we also talked about before why is the silver price kind of flat through this kind of market, and what's going to happen? Well, we've seen that there have been what we call structural deficits every year. In the last 3 years, there's been a shortage of silver. If you just look at what's comes from mining and from recycling versus the demand overall. And the Silver Institute forecasts these deficits are going to continue for years going forward. I think they're being met by big players taking delivery from these markets, these futures markets, where you have these are large bars of silver, 1,000 ounce bars usually. That's where they're standing for delivery. They're taking that, they're melting it down, and they're using it in solar panels, electronics, and everything else. But that's only going to last so long. We see that those markets are draining. We have the charts to show that those markets their inventories are falling very quickly. There's perhaps a year or two left. That's it.
Right. And for those who may not understand the futures markets and those exchanges, it's a completely different world than, buying silver from your coin shop or something like that. In the paper market, the stock market and futures markets and all that, you can sell naked puts, which means you get paid for selling something you don't own. And what Peter is saying is some of those guys should be caught naked. Do you know what I mean? They actually sold something they don't have. And what Peter is saying is people are not playing that game as much now. They're actually saying, no, I want the silver. They're not playing games with it at this point. And let me say it again, is every Tomahawk missile, which is fired off and pounding away at the poor people of Ukraine and Russia, I think there's 14 pounds of silver in it. You don't get it back. And the landfills are filled with silver, and the cost to extract it is more than the price of silver today. Silver is the biggest bargain, and everybody, even a poor beggar in the street, can make $35 in a couple hours of begging. You know what I mean? But they'd rather have the fake money, the paper money, versus the real money. Why do you think that is, Peter?
We've been conditioned. I think people have been conditioned to believe in paper money over what was real money. Silver and gold were real money for 5,000 years. It's the last 50 years, like you said, since silver has been taken out of coinage. Gold's been no longer backing the dollar, for example. So it's only the last 50 years, and I consider that to be an experiment. We're living in an experiment, and it's not going well. When I wrote the book, I looked at what had been happening worldwide to the money supply. And the money supply was up 5 times in the last 20 years. So, I mean, it's unreal. It's something like $300 trillion floating around in the financial system right now. It's not sustainable. It is not sustainable. They're printing like crazy. And, COVID was an example of when it went into overdrive, and it hasn't stopped. We are printing like crazy, and reality is going to hit, and it's probably not going to take all that long.
Right.
I want to be ready.
Let me add one more thing. To this is what happened in 64 and 71. Silver went out of this, and gold went out of this in 71. And so this here is real gold. This is about $2,000 today. And this is real silver. It's about $35 today. Okay. So they're printing so much of this, they can't. I mean, now it's what he's saying, the supply is increasing. But what's increasing faster is our debt. And this guy Biden, in his, what do you call it, inflation reduction, he opens the border up. He cuts off the Keystone pipeline from Canada to America. The price of oil goes through the roof. But let me ask you this question on, silver and gold. Why is it that people would rather have this garbage?
I think they've been brainwashed. They see it around. It's been talked up. It's the, you always see the dollar sign as the goal of what to own, and or what to have more of, and they don't realize that the dollar is the dollar, and it has that reputation because it was backed by gold for nearly a century. And if you look back over history, there every true reserve currency that has been, country that has been an empire, has dominated the world, exactly, eventually gone, but for a long time backed by some kind of gold or silver. And
Right.
eventually they decide, you know what, it's more convenient to take that out of the currency so we can print all we want. The demise of the Roman Empire is attributed to printing.
And the frightening thing is every time this fake money disappears, wars start. And
Yes,
and that's my look at the wars starting all over the world right now because of fake money. But
exactly.
this is the other thing here is a lot of people are buying Bitcoin, and I own a lot of Bitcoin. I own the whole coins. I don't own Satoshis. But Bitcoin is the same reason I buy gold and silver. I don't trust the dollar. But the point of view here is this: Bitcoin has no real use,
Mhm.
and gold is too expensive to use. Is my logic fitting your logic here?
It certainly is. It
And
certainly is.
silver is still extremely useful.
And
Anything you want to say about how useful silver is and why it's consumed?
so, in my book, I say I consider it the Swiss Army knife of metals because it has so many applications. Almost every week, there's some kind of new patent that comes out on a use for silver. So we talked about solar. That's becoming the 800-pound gorilla in the solar market, in the silver market. You've got electronics and electrical applications. You find it in medicine. Because it's a natural biocide. It kills bacteria, and the bacteria do not grow accustomed like they do to things like
Right.
penicillin.
But
So, I mean, it's multi-purpose.
imagine that during the old days when the pioneers were coming across America, they put a silver coin inside their water barrels.
That's right.
And it's
Exactly
still
right.
used. Yeah.
The people would put it in a wine barrel as well. It would help keep the wine fresh.
Yeah.
We use it in water filtration systems, so that tells you how it kills bacteria. It's indispensable, really. I like to say because of solar. Silver is the new oil, but it's going to be the next uranium. And if you've
Oh,
seen what's happened in the uranium price in the last maybe 5 months, it's doubled in price. Silver has that kind of behavior. Look for that to happen again.
yeah. So again, I own gold mines and silver mines. I sold my silver mine to Yamana and all this. So all you silver stackers here, this is what comes out of a real mine. Here's my mine. Stack this. You know what I mean? That's how committed to gold and silver I am. And how green I've become is once I bought that EV, because a lot of controversy about it. Is it really? I just bought one. And now I'm going to put a solar panel on my house because I have a separate garage for my cars. And I'm going to put a solar panel on top of the roof just so that my car is totally green. But that's going to increase that price. But also what's happening in India, because every time I'm in India, they wear a lot of silver there. They like silver.
Absolutely. India is one of the world's biggest consumers of silver. They absolutely love it. In fact, it's interesting you mentioned India. I mean, I like to kind of mention just quickly that if you look at what's been happening in two other big places with large populations, Turkey and Egypt. Turkey has 65% annual inflation. Imports of silver to Turkey have been off the charts. In Egypt, it's a tradition to give gold, actually, to a newlywed, to the woman, or to give gold for a newborn baby. Well, gold's become too expensive in Egypt, so they're now turning to silver as well. And
Right.
you've had the price of silver in the last 3 years has doubled in Egypt. In the Egyptian pound, and in Turkey, it's up 7 times in the last 3 years. It's just off the charts. These countries know real money, and that's why they've been through this so many times before and so badly that we should look to them to see how they behave. They know what they're doing. The population knows what they're doing.
Right. So we're so fast out of time. Again, this is Peter Krauth, author of The Great Silver Bowl. Please get this. Remember, this is February 2024. This is a U.S. Eagle. It's a buffalo. It's a buffalo. It's $35. everybody in the world can afford $35, but the poor people want this stuff here. It's really, really sad because the national debt's through the roof, solar's increasing, batteries are increasing, and people rather have this than this. That's why they're poor. Anyway, Peter, thank you very much. Please get his book, The Great Silver Bull, and keep up the good work. All right. Thank you.
All right. There you go.
Okay, everybody. So we'll be right back with the final words from Rich Dad. We'll be right back. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. I want to thank Peter Krauth for his book, The Great Silver Bull. And again, once again, Rich Dad makes no recommendations. We're pure educational only. And please do your own research on this whole thing. But this here is an ounce of silver. This here is an ounce of gold. It takes about 2,000 of these to buy this. And today about 35 of these to buy this here. I'd rather have this. This is $35. Everybody in the world can afford $35, no matter what currency they're in. Yet for some reason, as Peter says, people have been conditioned to take toilet paper instead of real money. So with that said, thank you for listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show. This is the biggest bargain in February 2024, bigger than Bitcoin because this is burned up and is disappearing at high rates of speed. This is increasing, and Bitcoin is going to cap off at 21 million coins. That's the difference. Thank you for watching the Rich Dad Radio Show.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.